5 minutes left. Thanks for hanging in there.
If you didn't think.
Now, this is James Safechuck's mother. By the way, let her son sleep in a bed with Michael Jackson, grown man, her young son, knew it was happening, would travel from one hotel to another. First, her hotel room and her husband's would be close to Michael Jackson, where her son, her little kid, was sleeping with Michael Jackson in the bed. And then each trip, it was getting further and further away. I heard Dr. Drew speak recently on a show where he said, I think the onus really comes down to the mothers in this documentary. And this particular clip, this really is disturbing. As a mother myself of sons, 3 sons, this clip hurts my soul.
Didn't think anything. Didn't think anything.
So she says, didn't think
anything.
Anything. This is a deviation from her baseline, where she normally is pretty gregarious and talking smoothly.
Anything.
She has this choppy language. She says she didn't think anything. She doesn't say I, drops the pronoun, which is indicative of someone that's lying.
Think anything.
And then she nods her head, yes.
Didn't think anything.
It could be many reasons we're seeing this. Potentially one reason is she did, in fact, think something was going on and then overrode her instinct. But it could be something else that's making that happen. For me, this was a tough one because it's a potential, doesn't mean 100%, but there's a potential that she did think something was going on and still allow that to happen for many, 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 many years. And we're going to see one more clip.
I wanted to know what's going on in the room. My son doesn't know this. But
all right. Now, I don't know the director of this movie. I've watched lots of footage about, how it all came about. And I'm assuming it's possible that the director, when making this movie, had people go back to each part of, like, where were you at this time? Like, before you knew your son was getting potentially molested, what were you thinking at that moment? Trying to bring them back in time. So then we get the heavy hitting at the last, 4th hour of this documentary, all the big tears and the, everything kind of comes together. And with that being said, if that is the case, so the mother here, James Safechuck's mother, maybe she's thinking back to before she knew what her son had told her, because her son alleges that Michael Jackson did this stuff. We don't know for sure if it happened. It's allegedly. And how do you can't unhear something. You can't unlearn something. You can't unhear it. And I don't care how you're directing me. If something, God forbid, happened to one of my kids and I'm telling the story and my son is now grown up and his marriage, he's been struggling and suffering with depression and with work and really trying to figure this all out. How do you unexperience what you know? How do you unexperience? And so the mother's going back in time talking about how she used to eavesdrop outside of Michael Jackson's room and that she's laughing gregariously. And my son doesn't know this. He doesn't know this, but I used to eavesdrop outside the room. Really? Because you're a human being right now that knows that when you weren't eavesdropping, or even when you were, that potentially bad stuff was happening to your little son. How do you unhear that and unknow that information? There's way too much excitement here. This piece of the video right here was one of my top 3 hardest moments to watch. It literally made me sick to my stomach.
I would, wanted to know what's going on in the room. My son doesn't know this. But I would, go to the door, try to listen, hear what conversation was going on, and then I'd sneak away. I wasn't worried that anything was going on. I guess it was more curious. What are they doing in there? Playing, reading.
The problem is here, there's not even sadness. Even if she's trying to suppress it, there's not even sadness in her eyebrows, pulled together. I guess I wasn't worried. There's nothing. There's joy, there's happiness. This is starstruck.
was reading, he bought him a lot of nice, good books, you know, and poems. He'd read poems to him.
He bought him books.
Just
Yeah, he
kid
bought him
things. They were
books. He
just-
bought him jewelry, supposedly. And all of this is called grooming. If you're not familiar with grooming, it's called grooming. And I'll talk more about grooming in my next video when we talk about Wade Robinson at another time. Oh no, I got to go back to here. All right, I think we have 2 more
I
slides.
wanted to know
Thanks for sticking
what's
in
going
there.
on in the room. My son doesn't know this. But I would, you know, go to the door, try to listen, hear what conversation was going on, and then I'd sneak away. I wasn't worried that anything was going on. I guess it was more curious. What are they doing in there?
What were they doing?
Playing, reading. Michael was reading. He bought him a lot of nice, good books, you know, and poems. He'd read poems to him. Just kid things. They were just doing kid things.
So it wouldn't actually like ejaculate. It would be this like kind of lubricant without anything in it. And that would sort of leak out. For me, yeah.
I got to tell you, before I saw this documentary, I know from law enforcement that kids at young ages, they don't have the semen, the yellow, you know, thicker semen. And so it's very watery. And this is why when there was a case in Chicago where a young kid was charged with raping and killing a young girl, it got thrown out of court because the kid was at an age, the police got this little boy to do a false confession. And, but the boy had no semen. It was impossible. And what it was there's a DNA match, but it was this boy's older cousin that had raped and killed this girl. And this kid's life was like, you know, destroyed in the family because he was arrested for murder and rape, when in fact it was impossible. So going into this, I thought to myself, literally, I wonder if they'll talk about the semen, because if these boys were really young and in fact Michael Jackson was molesting them, it's unlikely that someone lying would know to research what age you produce semen, and that it's just this watery substance and it's not this thicker white semen. So, and then when he said this here, I was like, holy, I don't know.
Or Michael would ejaculate. He said that I was his first sexual experience. And he would say that all the time. He's the biggest entertainer and he's a creative genius. And that creative genius thinks that you're special. What's not to like, right?
Look at this. He loved Michael Jackson. And the part of the documentary talks about how do you deal with this, that this man you loved and you cared and respected for it was also, according to him, you know, James Safechuck, really a monster, if in fact, if it was true, what he says happened. So you see this, he really did love Michael Jackson. And he's like, hey, this guy loved me and he's amazing and what's not to like? If in fact he was lying, wouldn't you think to beef up the case, to win the case, he would say not anything other than this, you know, what's not to like? Because it's almost implying like, hey, you know, this didn't cause me any pain, but yet you're suing for all this pain. No, like this was what's not to like. If anything, this would be the opposite of what you would want to say if you're trying to, you know, slant a case to win it your way. I don't know. That's what I would think.
I think they thought they were doing the right thing, and he's the biggest star, and I'm gonna help your son, and your son's amazing, and I'm gonna be there for him. It's all a big seduction. So do I blame them? I'm still working on it.
You see that head nod?
I think they thought they were doing the right
You
thing.
see this head nod at the end? I'm still working on it.
I think they thought they were doing the right thing. And
see that? Well, that's our analysis. As I say my goodbyes, it's another long one. Thanks for hanging out. I'm sorry for the delay. We're going to figure this out next week. I think I'm going to have to record them early. I'm going to questions. If you guys have any questions, if you put them already on here, Just before I say hi, I just see, I know it froze. I'm not seeing any questions. Sorry, it froze. Hopefully it's still here. And you guys see me as I say my goodbyes. I'm looking, see any messages. I'm not seeing anything. My name's Janine Driver. Tune in every Wednesday night at 10 o'clock for Celebrity Lie Detector Live. Next week, we're going to chat most likely about Wade Robson. He testified for Mr. Jackson, for Michael Jackson in 2005 when Michael Jackson was being charged with child molestation. Unbelievable story, sad family story. Came from Australia, Brisbane, and wait till you hear this story. And I'll let you know, do I think he's just jumping on the bandwagon to make some money, or do I think he's telling the truth? The way, in my opinion, I believe James Safechuck is telling the truth. And maybe he's just a good actor. I don't know. Only time will tell. We'll see what the courts say. Right now, remember, everything's allegedly. We don't know for certain what the truth is. My name's Janine Driver. Tune in. Be sure to like my page, and I will see you guys next week.
Hey, bro, go for what you know. Please get low when you rock the show. Hey, bro, go for what you know. Please get low when you rock the show.
Bye, guys. I love you. See you next week. I love you. I hope you found it valuable.
Hey, bro, go for what you know. Please get low when you rock the show.
Why am I doing this? That's like losing. I wanted to do peace. Love you guys.
Hey, bro, go for what you know. Please get
All right. See you later.